Obama had little contact with his father in Kenya. He was in 5th grade when the senior Barack Obama came to Honolulu for a visit. The reunion became a confusing experience.
He came in and made all sorts of statements about what Barack should be doing and how he ought not to waste his time watching television. And I think for Barack, his presence was a disruption. It was confusing, and I don't think Barack felt his father to be entitled to make those kinds of decisions.
Before he left, his father gave him 2 gifts, a basketball and records of African music. But the brief visit and the small tokens weren't enough to bridge the distance between father and son. In high school, Obama joined the basketball team and became a leader in class. But when he compared himself to his peers, he didn't see where he fit in.
The differences between his white family at home and the way the world viewed him as an African American outside of his home was a little confusing.
Obama tried to mimic what he thought was black culture.
So he acted tough, he played basketball, he started to shirk off on his lessons at school, and he started to, as he said, dabble in drugs.
Obama drank beer, smoked marijuana, and even tried cocaine. His grades slipped, but were still high enough to get into Occidental College in Los Angeles. In the fall of 1979, Barack Obama said goodbye to his family and began his first year at Occidental. He became friends with several black students, but no matter how hard he tried, he just didn't see himself as one of them.
It was very important for him to figure out what it meant to be a part of the black community. He was an American, he was a black American, and he I think, needed to figure out what that was.
At the end of his sophomore year, Obama transferred to Columbia University in New York. He hoped to find his place in the city's diverse population. Once there, Obama took long walks through New York's ethnic neighborhoods.
He realized that even there, in a very cosmopolitan city, that the divisions were apparent. He struggled through these issues of racial identity, also to try and understand the societal forces around the issue of race.
Obama became more disciplined. He ran 3 miles a day and studied harder. He also turned to books for answers about race and social injustice.
He basically wasn't going out much. He was reading Nietzsche and Gandhi and absorbing just everything he could.
His work gained momentum, and he stopped using drugs.
He was readying for a battle, and he was growing up. He had to figure out what he was going to do for the rest of his life.
In 1982, Obama was making breakfast in his East Harlem apartment when the phone rang. On the other end was a distant African relative who abruptly told him that his father had been killed in a car accident. Obama hung up the phone and thought about the father he'd barely known.
He does not know how to feel. The death does not really take on much shape, meaning it doesn't make much of an impact.
Obama stayed focused on his studies and began to think about life after college. He eventually decided to pursue a career as a community organizer, where he hoped to confront the kind of racism and poverty that had troubled him for most of his life.
I think his experience as an African American in a primarily white high school and society, his exposure to withering poverty in Indonesia, all of these things I think contributed to his sense that he wanted to help people.
After graduation, he took a job with a Chicago-based group called Developing Communities Project. He moved to the city's south side and began working to improve the conditions in a public housing project called Altgeld Gardens.
You see a lot of poverty, a lot of drugs, a lot of gang activity. And so it's considerably eye-opening and it also is probably a little bit depressing. And I think when you see something like that, you want to do something about it.